I've been afraid of food, obsessed with food, confused by food, but I've also been able to heal my relationship with food. I've done all the diets, I've dealt with all the guilt and the shame of binging and starving myself. I've dealt with all the health issues and the body changes and anything that you can think of, I think I've dealt with. Not to mention just all of the confusion around food. There's so much information out there nowadays. It's just so hard to figure out what is right, especially for you. And I think that everybody's different, and what's right for you may not be right for somebody else. Hi guys, my name is Andrea and I am a nutritional therapy practitioner. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing my full story of my relationship with food starting from childhood to now and how I was able to actually figure out what works for me. If you've ever felt confused or really defeated about food, this video is for you. If you haven't been to my channel before, my name's Andrea, and I became a nutritional therapy practitioner after I was bedridden for almost a year, and I was able to heal myself naturally. So now I love to help other people do the same. I would also love it if you would hit the subscribe button and share this and make sure your little bell is on so you get a notification when I post. First, I want to talk about the early food memories that I have. My family food culture was just kind of horrendous, to say the least. I grew up with my grandparents, and they were Italian, so it was a lot of breads and pastas, which wouldn't have been bad if it wasn't in America. The food here in America is just highly processed, so my grandmother took those roots and kind of brought them over to America without realizing that the food here isn't as good quality as over there. So I grew up eating pasta and bread and chicken nuggets pretty much until I got to high school. Now at that time I really wasn't aware of my emotional relationship with food. It was just kind of like, I'm just gonna eat, like this is what's for dinner, or I'd grab a Pop-Tart for breakfast. I didn't really know anything about nutrition. I just was like, I know I need to eat and this is what's available kind of thing. My grandmother had passed away when I was about 9, so I did move in with my mom, and it was just kind of like, now I'm making my own food and, white bread sandwiches for lunch, Pop-Tarts for breakfast kind of thing. And it really started to show up in my health. So in my high school years is when I really started to become aware of, okay, I think the food I'm eating is actually causing a problem. And this was brought to my attention by a chiropractor that I started seeing, and I was like telling her all about my joint pain and my digestive issues, and she made me do a food log, and she was like, wow, you eat like crap. I mean, I was drinking Mountain Dew, eating Cheez-Its. I mean, it was just all processed food. Like, everything was processed. I don't think I ate real food until I was about 17. And this really shaped my beliefs about food early on, that it came from a box and not from an animal, or from the ground or whatever. So it was really hard for me to learn how to cook and not rely on these convenience foods and start to shop on the outside of the store. And I had a lot of disordered eating and texture issues. And that was probably because early on I was eating a lot of pasta, a lot of mushy things. So I still to this day have a lot of texture issues. Apples and bananas and things like that, they just kind of gross me out. But I've been able to really learn how to cook things and be able to eat whole nutrient-dense food. Now once I started to learn about food and how it could make you fat or skinny or healthy or sick, it's kind of when I started to obsess over it, you could say. There was a lot of dieting and control and a lot of confusion around food. When I first started, it was more plant-based. Even though I hated vegetables and fruit, I was trying to get them in smoothies and eat more of these processed things that were healthy for you and plant-based. And I would stay away from meat, and I would call myself pescatarian, so I'd only eat fish or anything like that. It was just it was so chaotic, and one day I would just eat I would binge and like eat a whole cake or whatever, and then the next day I'd be like, okay, I'm fine. And then I'd keep going back and forth between that and trying to restrict myself so much, but not actually eating healthy food. It was still processed garbage. Now that came at a cost. My body image, my health, a lot of fear and obsession around food. I think that developed around that time. I was probably 17, 18. I started weightlifting, and but I was always tired. I started to do more athletic stuff, and I could never get stronger or get better. It was always just this constant back and forth of injuries and not being able to improve. So this became a real struggle with me because I thought in my head that I was doing everything right. And I'm like, I'm doing everything right. Why am I not losing weight? Why am I so weak? Why am I always getting injured? Because I'm staying away from these foods, whatever. And I would go gluten-free. I've been gluten-free for a while. Definitely have issues with gluten, but I would resort to those processed foods or really refined carbohydrates. And I was just so confused. And this is where I kind of started to get worse. I gave up. I just gave up because I think this was my breaking point. I was working as a nutritionist at a chiropractic office, and I was telling people to do certain things and then not doing it myself. I called myself a closet eater. I would go to the gas station and buy candy and chips, and I'd eat it really quick and then throw it away so nobody would see me. And, I wouldn't have trash in my car, things like that. And it just got out of hand, so much so I felt like such a hypocrite. I quit my job and started just working as a waitress and doing other things, pursuing other things with my life. And that's when I just completely, it was my breaking point. It was just, I'm done and I'm just going to do whatever I want. So I was living off energy drinks and like breakfast sandwiches from gas stations. It was just the complete opposite. Like, I did not care. I did whatever I wanted, really. I did eat a lot of sushi and Thai food. I was always eating out. I never cooked meals at home. It was just, what can I get quick and that tastes good? So I was really being driven by my desires and my flesh and what I think tastes the best, and not actually like nutritional values or is this gonna help me or hurt me. Fast forward to when I was 23, I became bedridden, and everything I ate made me flare up in some way. Hives, just itching, throat closing. Like, I got down to one food. I was eating cauliflower and onions cooked in olive oil. That's all I was eating. And I got down to 115 pounds. For reference, I'm 5'6", and I don't think I've ever weighed that much. And besides when I was like in elementary or middle school. So I was like really, really thin. I had lost a lot of muscle, a lot of strength. And I got a bunch of diagnoses. I got diagnosed with lupus and POTS and all these things. And that's kind of when it hit me. I was at the doctor's, and she was like, well, what are you eating? My cardiologist was like, what are you eating? And I was like, well, I'm drinking protein shakes and like I'm hydrating and all these things. She's like, why don't you eat real food? And it just, I don't know what happened, but it was like this wake up moment. I was like, oh, yeah, why don't I eat real food? Like, all the knowledge was there. I just didn't have the wisdom to implement it, I guess. I don't know. It was just so crazy looking back. Anyways, I started following some people online who had seen a lot of improvement from the carnivore diet, so I started there. I went to straight, like, barely being able to eat anything to, okay, I need to eat red meat and lamb, and that's what I did. And when I started to do this, that's when I realized that I didn't need more discipline with my food. I needed a better relationship with my food. So I had to really relearn the basic understanding of food and why we eat, and also listen to my body. And doing the carnivore diet helped me learn those things so much. So I had to unlearn good and bad food, and shifting rules to like signals, right? So instead of like, oh, I can't eat that food's bad, it's gonna be like, you know what, this food isn't gonna nourish me, so I'm gonna opt to choose something that will nourish me. It was just this whole mindset of when you tell yourself you can't do something, then you're gonna wanna do it, right? So it was more of like, this isn't gonna serve my body, this isn't gonna help me heal, so I'm gonna opt to eat something that is going to help me heal. And I really believe that every bite of food you take is either going to help you heal or cause a disease. Especially with today, with all of this processed food, it's inevitable to eat something that's going to cause inflammation in the body. So I had to understand my blood sugar and my protein needs and my nervous system and stress, and then my satiety hormones and like nourishment and all those things. So doing the carnivore diet really helped me just kind of get back to square one and realize that we need proteins and fats, and carbs are non-essential, but they can definitely help you in they can definitely be beneficial in some circumstances. So my mindset changed to looking as food as fuel and not punishment or reward. And this is kind of where you gain your authority just naturally, right? Is when you start to look at food as fuel and not leaning on your desires and your cravings. Now, when I was carnivore, I had no food noise. A lot of people talk about food noise when they talk about overeating and things like that. I had no food noise. I was eating until I was full, and I really think that eating enough protein is the key, and eating enough nutrients is the key to that. Our GLP-1 receptor is turned on by eating enough protein. So if you're not eating enough protein, you're always gonna feel hungry. You're not gonna feel satiated. So it's really, really important that you're eating enough protein. So I'm gonna kind of just share a little bit what's recently happened. So I was carnivore for a while, and then I wanted to really get over my food fear. So even though I had a little bit better relationship with food, I was still afraid of eating out and eating processed foods and things like that, to the point where it was extreme. I think there should be a healthy, how do I word this right? A healthy fear, or at least wisdom and knowledge when it comes to processed food. And so this past year, I started slowly reintroducing food, because when I went onto the carnivore diet, I didn't want it to be forever. I just wanted it to heal, and then I wanted to expand and bring food back into my diet, because I really believe that the Lord has allowed us to eat all sorts of things. Even though some plants have anti-nutrients and some things like that, there's ways that we can cook them and enjoy these foods in moderation. I still believe that an animal-based diet is the way to go 100%. So last year I started introducing food, and it was just, it was crazy, because I started to taste things, and then I wouldn't react immediately to these foods, and so I would binge on them, or I would continue to eat them in an unhealthy manner. And it's just, this past year has been hard. I'm making another video about it. But food started to control my life again when I started eating those processed, addictive foods. Not only that, but I started feeling groggy, a lot of brain fog, fatigue. It was just not good. It just wasn't good. So now I'm reeling it back in after seeing a whole year of, okay, I can eat this food and I'm not afraid, and I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful that I was able to overcome my food fear, but now I need to reel it back in. So I'm going to talk now about what works best for me, and I'm going to do a whole series coming up, so I'm hoping to be more consistent with these videos and sharing this with you. So some clear pillars that have helped me really stick to a diet per se, or a way of life, a way of living, a way of eating that works for me is structured meals and planning. So like kind of 2-in-1, structured meals and planning, protein, minerals, and digestion. I know that sounds a little weird. I'll talk about it in a minute. And how food fits into my lifestyle and not necessarily how my food is controlling me. Again, this is what works for me. It's not a prescription for everybody, and all my carnivore friends are probably like, you just need to eat meat, which, yes, it's just unpractical. It's unpractical for a lot of people, I will say, and I do believe that we should avoid all extremes when it comes to things like that. Now, are there days where I just eat meat? Yeah. But are there days where I want some spaghetti squash and blueberries? Yeah, I'm going to do that, especially because my goals, I do perform better. I will say this. I do perform better in the gym when I have carbohydrates. Sorry, I know I'm going to get bashed about saying that, but I perform so much better in the gym. If not, I get really lightheaded and I get like panicky and my POTS gets worse if I don't have carbohydrates before I work out. So that's just kind of something that I've had to try and figure out, how to structure my meals around my workouts and things like that. So, okay, so I talked about meal structure. That's kind of what I've been talking about. So I like to have most of my fats and protein in the morning. And then before I work out, I'll do more of a leaner protein and carbohydrates. And then after my workout, I'll do the same, like a lean protein and a carbohydrate, of course with fiber and stuff. And then at night, I do more of the heavier protein, fat, and a little bit of carb, or like asparagus or some type of veg, some type of fiber. And it's not rigid as in like I have to eat these things every single day. It's very like, oh, I want this tonight and I know I need this or whatever. But for me, what I found is if I have a structured every day, this is what I'm going to eat, it just takes so much off my brain and I can just focus on other things that I have to do when I have my meal prep all done and ready. So that's number one. Number two, prioritizing proteins, minerals, and digestion. So proteins, of course, I eat animal protein, so lots of beef, lamb, and I'll do turkey sometimes. I really don't like chicken that much, but turkey, and then like if I want a snack, I'll do beef sticks or something that's protein heavy. Minerals, I hydrate, I use salt on everything, I drink my minerals, and I've got a big supplement stack, which I'll share with you guys later if you're interested. And then number three is digestion. So how am I eating? And this isn't talked about a lot, right? Am I on my computer? Am I stressed out? Am I in my car driving, trying to eat my food? Like all those things impact your digestion. So it's really important to be off your phone, be relaxed when you're eating, enjoy your meal, and not be distracted while you're eating. And then how food fits into your life, right? I just talked about how I need carbohydrates before I work out, but I don't need them if I'm not working out, so I'm not going to eat them. I'm going to eat my my carbs and utilize them for my workout. I wore CGM for a while. I still have another one. I may use it again. But I definitely get impacted by sugar, any types of sugar, whether it's fruit or, like dates or oatmeal or whatever. It definitely spikes my blood sugar. So I try to stay away from those. Or if I do use them, I work out about 30 minutes after, and then my blood sugar doesn't spike. So it's really interesting. If you guys have ever used a CGM, I highly, highly recommend it. All right, sorry, I'm just going off some notes here. So, yep, emotional healing and food freedom. I mean, my faith and my mindset and my identity shifts really is what helped with the emotional side of things. Letting go of perfection, trusting in my hunger and fullness cues, and then just really healing guilt around food, especially when I'm binging, if I binge or anything like that. Food freedom doesn't mean eating everything. It just means that you're eating without fear. I'm going to repeat that because this is really important, and I want you guys to take at least this away from this video. Food freedom does not mean that you are eating everything. It just means that you don't have fear. You're eating without having fear, which is a huge problem. There's a lot of, don't eat this, it's going to cause this, and don't eat this, it's going to cause that. There's so much fear being pushed out in the diet culture, and it really impacts the way you live and the way you eat. So just be aware of that. And really, I mean, my faith was just the biggest thing, just learning to trust in the Lord and let go of my fears and give them to Him. If I'm going to die eating this, and I'm going to die eating it, but just really letting go of my fear and trusting in the Lord and surrendering that was a big, big component to healing my food. So if you're struggling with this, just know that you're not alone. I've had this long, long journey with food, and it just seems to be a huge part of my life now, and I really want to help other people overcome those things. But I do want to invite you guys in the comments to tell me about your food journeys and what you're currently doing and what's been working for you. It's just so interesting to see what works for people. I truly believe that the carnivore diet is a healing diet, and I would recommend that to everybody, no matter what the circumstance. But like I said, I'm going to be doing a series soon, so stay tuned for that. Please subscribe, and I'm really just going to enjoy making some more videos because I miss doing it. I was on a roll there for a little bit, and then I got off. So if you guys have any questions, of course, leave them in the comments, and I look forward to seeing you soon. And remember to eat your steak.